Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fraud Boxer podcast. I got a big one today. I got a heavy hitter. I got Seckin Yilgoren, who's the SVP of Security Solutions for North America at Mastercard. So how are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So
Glad to be
thank
here.
so thank you for coming on the show. I know with Mastercard folks, you guys are very busy. You're changing the world, so it always is very nice to be able to get some time for something like this, and I thank you for that. Uh, I wanted to talk a little bit about you first, so people know who you are and why you're on the show. So if you could give me a little bit about your background, that would be awesome.
Of course. First of all, thanks again for having us and in the show. Really appreciate that. A little bit about myself, and my name is Seckin. I was born in Istanbul, in Turkey, and I lived there until college. And I went to France to study economics. Then I got my MBA in the US. For the background, I started my career as a management consultant. It was a great experience because it gave me the opportunity to understand different industries, telco, retail,
Yeah.
government, finance. I worked on different projects, either strategy, analytics, optimization in different countries, which actually taught me about diverse cultures and, most importantly, different ways of problem solving. And I joined MasterCard in 2010 after consultancy, and during my 15-year tenure now, a long one, I had various roles: business development, go-to-market strategy, commercialization, product management in both regional and global perspectives.
So that is quite the journey. And like somehow you wound up in fraud. Like all the rest of us that are probably watching this show, we always wind up somehow in this fraud space that we probably didn't even know really existed. So how'd you get into the fraud space?
Actually, you are right. I didn't know. I was fortunate to have different posts in MasterCard, which had like ownership or core or digital payment products. And that gave me exposure to e-commerce and physical payments. And of course, logically, it also gave me exposure to fraud.
Yeah.
In 2018, I took a role in a global role about identity solutions, commercialization, and strategy, which gave me more exposure about identity fraud, authentication fraud. And recently and currently, I'm leading the security solutions team for North America, which covers everything fraud, cybersecurity, identity, digital assets, AI, financial crime scams, and everything. But I wasn't, I didn't start my career as fraud. I just started as a consultant,
Yeah.
payments, technology, and product, which evolved to the fraud eventually.
So I did in a previous life, I did business consulting. I was trained
Oh,
by one of the old gurus a long time ago, management consulting training. And I will say, like, doing the consulting training is really cool because you do get to touch so many different types of things. Retail for me, there was like train like online training courses and all that, and you get to see how all businesses are similar but different at the same time. But it is nice to have like a well-rounded uh, career path, to have different insights into different things, because you never realize like how something from 20 years ago is going to pop up into your life now and be relevant once again. But
100%.
yeah,
100%.
so let's dive right in. You listed a whole bunch of things there that you do, and one of those things is cybersecurity, so cyber attacks. So let's dive right in and talk about what's the growing risk in cyber attacks and what are you guys seeing and what's happening.
Sure. So I think for all of us as consumers or payment industry people, and technology is always continuously evolving and changing. So therefore, all the parties who play an active role in the ecosystem, which includes networks like us and or issuers like banks and merchants or the consumers, we all need to evolve in the same time in order to make sure the ecosystem is stable. Currently, two-thirds of the world population, 5 billion people, and they are connected via digital networks that influence how we shop, how we
Yep.
interact, how we work, how we live, how we play, whatever you take. And this increased digitization brings a lot of opportunities, convenience,
Hmm.
peace of mind. We don't need to do anything right now. We can just do it with an app or online. At the same time, it also brings risks. There's infinite point of vulnerabilities, and your data is everywhere, and people can access your information very quickly. And by doing that, cyber criminals and cyber crimes are also evolving, and they are
Yeah.
becoming more sophisticated. Everybody, like all the fraudsters, are using AI, innovative ways, Gen AI even to trick customers, and they are being successful.
So let's talk a little bit. Like, can you give me a couple of examples? Like, I think AI is such a trigger word. Uh, what are some examples that like some of the fraudsters themselves are taking advantage of AI to disrupt the fraud space? Let's say.
The biggest one that we are seeing right now is the AI generated like identity fraud, like the
Yeah,
deepfakes.
okay.
And it was an analysis by Regular Forensics that in 2020, like last year specifically, 37% of organizations experiencing deepfake voice fraud and 30% falling victim on the deepfake videos.
thirty
We have
percent
seen
experienced it.
exactly, and they are falling victim on this. And the issue is they do it so well. They can just have a background of a bank, a very known bank in US or Canada, in France, in Turkey, and then they can just call you by saying, "Hey, you don't need to come to your branch anymore. We know you are busy, whatever it is. We can do the transactions like
Yeah.
this." People are very well known. They know your name. They have information about you. And all of a sudden, you trust them. You said, "Oh my, that's fantastic," because to come to the convenience, most
Yeah.
of your banks right now, they're also offering to you. If you are like a high net worth customers or like a affluent customer, they tell you, hey, you don't need to come to the bank. You can have your private calls like a banker in in video, right? So people are focusing this, and sometimes they are confusing, and especially the elderly and other people, they can um, fall victim of this.
Mhm.
And the issue is account opening, transactions, they are the most impacted pieces as well.
Yeah, and I think in just a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in the, especially in the elderly and the scam part of this, and some of the technologies you guys are doing. But I wanted to a quick thing. It's not on our notes, but I just want to show Peacock called the Capture. So Peacock had this really good deal on Black Friday. It was like $1 for like a year. So I did that, and it's got a whole bunch of like old content, like but a lot of like British content. And there's a show called The Capture on there, and it is a basically in the UK, how they have a lot of cameras, you know, and it's
Mm.
like how the intelligence community solves problems and finds like uses these cameras to solve crimes. But it's 2 seasons now, and especially the last season was all about deepfakes and having politicians giving full-blown deepfake interviews, and it's wild. So if anybody ever wants to like see like what's like and it's cool to see that it's that mainstream now that people are talking about it, but the show's called The Capture. It's on Peacock. It's probably a BBC show, but it is awesome and it is frightening, what they show, like demonstrations that could potentially happen if the right technology exists. Like some of it does, some of it doesn't, you know?
I totally agree. Look, very recently there was a couple of the hackers in LAC, Latin America. They managed to even do like a hack the identity of the people when they check if you are live or not, because they have
Yeah.
used gaming cameras in different angles. And then at the end, even though you were standing still or you were trying to act like somebody else, with the gaming cameras and all over your face, they gave it this impression. And it actually passed. It passed one
Yeah.
of the government pieces, which is quite impressive, I'd say, and also scary at this.
It is very scary. So now that we've scared everybody, and we've talked about AI and what the criminals are doing with AI, we've seen some significant innovations in AI as far as like fraud defenses. I think a lot of us have probably used fraud tools that have some sort of machine learning AI responses. I think a lot more intelligence is being done for like you should look at these sets of transactions using AI. But despite all that, you know, what are some of the good stuff that's being used in AI in our space, especially in the financial services? Like what's Mastercard doing with AI that people might not know about and that people should know about and feel more comfortable about hearing that buzzword?
Sure, no, thank you. I think we all agree AI stands as one of the most transformative technological leaps
Hmm.
shaping the industry today. And for us, it wasn't actually new. Like Mastercard is leveraging AI for more than decades already.
Oh wow.
And yeah, because in different shape or form, and I'll just give you a couple of examples. For us, AI wasn't only efficiency, but it's about how we can do the efficiency for both internal and external customers, but also how we can provide a better consumer experience. And when I say better consumer experience from our world is how we can make every digital interaction, because we passed level of the transaction, we are over the transactions, and so how we can make every digital interaction even smarter, even safer, even more personalized, and also how we can make Mastercard stronger
I like
by
that.
developing our employees, more being more efficient, and also providing easier access to our customers. let me give you some examples. When we say smarter, so we use AI to create tools that make the payments ecosystem easier to use and create frictionless experience. And you try to tap your card or make a payment online and everyone, you want to make it smooth as possible. You don't want to have millions of step ups. You don't want to have
Yes, that's
and
correct.
millions of questions. And you also want to make sure that the transaction will be approved at the end of the day, right? So for us, by leveraging AI with our 143 billion transactions a year with machine learning models, it helps us to optimize the portfolios, route transactions more intelligently, and increase and approval rate and performance for the recommendations engines of our partners. That's on making it smooth. When we are thinking about making it more personalized, is we have a lot of data as and and when we
Yeah, you do.
combine this AI with this additional data and analytics to provide merchants and financial institutions with deeper insights to help them deliver more person-like experience. Like open banking solutions, if we can provide them with alternative sources of permission financial data to help individuals or small businesses to establish their creditworthiness, that will help because it will
Yeah,
eliminate
that's
several
actually
steps. And
absolutely.
and from safer to come to your cybersecurity piece is like we know cybersecurity is you feel like a treading water. Every year, everybody is increasing their budget to fight cybersecurity, and then the cyber loss starts to increase. So you always feel like a vicious cycle. So what we do with AI is we are leveraging either safety net, which is our solution to protect issuers and acquirers for large scale fraud events. We are looking at the different patterns that are around the globe. If something is happening from another region, eventually it will come to the US or it will go to the Asia Pacific. And we managed, thanks to the AI and this solution, we managed to deflect all around $20 billion fraud in 2023.
20 billion. Huh?
$20 billion
Just
fraud.
okay. I like that. That's a big
Only
number.
with that. That didn't even hit the regular price. We managed to provide that from the large
So
scale.
that way it didn't come downstream to me as a
No,
merchant to have to do it. I
ex-
like
or
that.
exactly. And also for decisioning, because at the end of the day, we provide tools to our issuers in order to make better decisioning in when they approve or decline transactions. So by leveraging AI into our decision intelligence pro tool, which is analyzes relationship between transactions, what we do in less than 50 milliseconds to be precise. This technology improves the overall decisioning score and it helps predicting for the issuers if these transactions are genuine or not. And the initial models that we have, it shows boosting approval rates by on average 20% and in some cases almost 300% as well. But
That's pretty
I
remarkable.
think what I like the most is the more we leverage AI and Gen AI and machine learning is we will be more ready for what is coming up in the future. What are the next gen fraud, emerging fraud? Because we will be able to analyze them. We can do our own synthetic attacks to our systems to see which transaction will pass through one bank or another, and we can actually inform them as a precaution. And and finally, when I mentioned about making Mastercard stronger, there's an internal level of this, which and how we can future-proof employees about AI and making sure that they're also building their own acumen,
I
AI
like that.
acumen, and also how we can drive efficiency. And for our customers is how we can make it easier for them to onboard our products with our product onboarding assistant, which is also leveraged.
So I will say, I do like that the last part there about the employee acumen and build them because I feel like so many companies are frightened about to give their employees access to AI, and what that will mean for them, and kind of holds back the potential. I think companies that are embracing AI in learning with it and learning what it could do are going to be the real companies that really stand out. So I'm happy to hear that you guys have always been really good with like your technology acquisitions and buying the right products and then stitching them together in the right ways to build. Like I've always been happy with the technology side of the Mastercard portfolio. I think it's always been I've used a lot of the products myself, like all of them.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
so thank you guys for actually like looking at technology and being aware of technology and not being a dinosaur and ignoring technology. So kudos to you guys on that one.
No, thank you. And maybe, we are always positioning ourselves now, not as a payment company, but as a technology company, because I think this is the future. Like payment is one of the way we are leveraging our technology, but at the end, we are a technology company with data, analytics, service, and everything else.
And as we've seen, especially rapidly over the last few years, payments changes. And if you have products in the place to facilitate me buying something, no matter what it is, and no matter how I want to buy it or no matter how I need to buy it, if you have your skin in the game on that, like that's where you need to be, especially because we don't know where payments. I mean, we can have predictions for payments, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yes.
But we don't know where it's always going to go, so we want to make sure that like you guys are always involved in that.
You are right about predictions, but before going there, we also know that fraud will always stay, right? Like there's no chance that we will just.
Oh, people aren't going to give up on fraud. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
They're always going to try and get something for nothing every time.
So we need to improve technology just to make sure we will try to outsmart them as much as possible, which is also a big challenge at the same time.
So we hinted at it a little bit earlier in this conversation, but given that it is March and March is International Fraud Prevention Month, I want to explore a little bit about what you guys at Mastercard are doing to protect the consumer. So we talked a little bit about the scams and the elderly abuse stuff, but what are you guys doing to maintain a high trust relationship between consumers and your business?
Sure. No, thank you for that. I think that's a very timely and very important question. I think all of us know people who are impacted by the scams. It might be in our own family. It might be our friend. It might be something that we know. It's a growing pain. And we as Mastercard, we are helping to protect consumers across the spectrum of scams. Either it's from card-based or account-to-account payments. So just to set the stage, there are mainly two types of scams. One is authorized scam. Consumer is either persuaded or deceived into making a payment to a fraudster under false pretense, like investment scam, impersonation, romance.
This is a APP, authorized push pull scam.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the one. Or unauthorized scam is what I do. I'm persuading you into sharing information that allows me to access to your account or illicitly transfer funds. It might be phishing, smishing. I send you a text, you click on the text, so I got your account. So even though you are not sending Seckin money for investment or for romance, for purchase, Seckin gets into your account, and then I can just forward money to myself or the others. So there are these, and this is the unauthorized one at the end. So the issue is both of them are continuing to grow a lot. And and especially now with the power with the by Gen AI, and it starts to become a very bad taste in everybody's mouth and for the consumers and regulators as well. In 2023 globally, and $1 trillion was lost by consumers. $1 trillion.
$1 trillion is the number, because we've been saying the billion number for so long. So now that we've crossed the trillion mark, here we go,
globally.
Everybody. We've been saying that scams are bigger than all your regular fraud, because the numbers are huge. Like it's like $1 million can go at a time on those.
Exactly. And the FBI has a very good report, IC3. And if you guys download, you can have all the breakdown of last year, what happened in the US specifically. Romance scam, investment scams are going huge. Unfortunately, these numbers are overwhelming, but they're also growing because people who are getting scammed are also not reporting every time because they are embarrassed to report, right? You don't want to say, oh, I was just got a victim of a romance scam. You might not want to admit it at the same time. But what happens is consumers are becoming more distrustful to the banks or money sending partners because they think that you need to reimburse me, even though it was an authorized scam, to your point, APP. They still want to make sure that they want them to identify criminals and get their money. But it's not that easy because at the end of the day, you don't know who to call, right? You are calling your bank. Sometimes you are calling the police. But then at the end of the day, even FBI has a line that you can send a note and everything else. The problem is that's not that easy to make sure that everybody will be identified and traceable. Because at the end of the day, somebody might lose $500K I would say $500 maybe in a Facebook scam, or another one might just lose a $35,000 on something else.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not saying one is more important than the others, but at the end of the day, traceability is very difficult. So what we do, our vision is we are trying to make account like all these payments and safe, simple, and traceable. So like we want to ensure payments go where they are intended.
I like
So
that.
building confidence and trust. So meaning that hey, if Seckin want to send money to Jordan, think about that we are in a local farmer market, right? Like you are buying something from me, you are giving me the money, so you know who you are paying and you know what you are getting in return. In an online world, it's very difficult because you don't even see who the person you are interacting with. And we just spoke about deepfakes, meaning you don't even realize. Maybe you think that you are talking to Seckin, it might not even be Seckin at
Yeah.
the end of the day. So it's very important that like what we do every time somebody is doing a transaction online, not even a transaction, like an opening an account, updating account, sending a payment, that at the end of the day leaves a digital footprint about your identity, right? We can trace that. We can trace from your personal data, behavioral data, device data, transaction data. So we are leveraging that data to prevent and detect scams. So we are not only looking at the payment transactions, we are looking at different angles, different touch points. So, for example, let's say Seckin's email is legit, Jordan's phone number is legit, and we are trying to do applying to a loan, and there is Seckin's name, there is Jordan's phone number, and then let's say that there is Laura's address. So if you are checking all of these components, they are all legit. You might say, "Oh, that's great." The problem is they are not related at all.
Yes.
Your name and my phone number was never used together in a loan application or card application. So what we do, our capabilities span across all the life cycle and different touch points to make sure how we can bring them together. And we have a solution called Scam Protect, which has really specialized solutions to like leveraging AI to help prevent scams. So we have Mastercard identity, verifying that someone is really who they say they are. We have biometrics, making
I like
sure
the
that hey,
biometrics.
like yeah, and if you think about behavioral biometrics, you can say like, hey, Seckin is logging in. Normally he has a fat finger problem. He will always make a mistake, and this time is very smooth. It just did like a less than a second. Maybe it's not Seckin. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
bot. And also we have for specifically for the real-time account-to-account payments, we have our consumer fraud risk solution, which provides the issuers with the intelligence to help detect the payment to the scammer. So we are trying to bring different data analytics together. And most importantly, we are trying to highlight the relationship between. Like the data validity is one thing. Is there a real link between them or not?
I really like that you guys are doing these things for your issuing partners to help your banks actually, because to your point that you said earlier, is like when a consumer has something like this happen to them, they're looking for a place to point the finger and someone to make them whole, even if they were a willing participant. And I've had like Aaron West was on the show before, and we've talked about like the human aspect of that and why they send the money and why they get caught up in the moment on that. But the fact that like you guys are having products that are helping people not only with the scam side of it, but also with the ATO side of it too, the unauthorized piece, as you said on there, to kind of jump in the middle on the issuing side. It's nice to hear that it's not just being put on merchants all the time or the consumers, but that the issuers are actually taking a willing step to try and protect their consumers using you guys. So I like to hear that. So let's actually shift to the merchant side if we could for a minute here. So when it comes to fraud, what are merchants thinking about lately from the Mastercard mind?
So one of the biggest area for the merchants is the first party fraud.
Oh
So,
yes.
first party fraud it starts to becoming a big issue right now because normally, like, let's put definition out there. This occurs when a consumer makes a legitimate purchase and then later requests a chargeback.
Mm-hmm.
And even though goods and services were received. So it might be two cases. It might be a very honest mistake. Somebody like this happens that people are seeing, oh, their children made a transaction. They see it in their bank account. They don't know what is it. They said, oh, it wasn't me. They disputed, but maybe it was one of their child. They invite something online, whatever it is. Or they are really they are trying to abuse the system because
Yep.
they said, oh, look, I did that, but maybe can I get away with this?
Yeah. Can I get it for free, please? It's not stealing. Totally not stealing.
Exactly. And the issue right now, what we see is people are doing that and they are putting videos on TikTok and Reddit or YouTube and the others, how to cheat the ecosystem. The problem is a crime. Like you are
So,
definitely actually making an
is it
issue.
a crime if you call it a hack? I mean, the TikTok hack on how to get free stuff is a crime. Yes, everybody, it's a crime.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you are trying to double dip on some stuff,
Mhm.
which by only paying one, I don't know how it works. Because if you go to a store, you say that, hey, I want to give you one like this. Can I get two? They will say, no, it's the price of one.
Mhm.
Normally, you end up with one. And but
Yeah.
the the problem is right now, and almost 75% of all the card not present fraud claims are a result of the first party fraud.
So
That's the 2023 number.
that's a big number, and you guys have put out a report last March, so a year ago this month, that had that number, and it shocked a lot of people when that number came out, and that was using your guys' data. And I had been hearing that number for a while, and it was nice to finally see it in print. And I think that people need to understand up to 75% of your fraud claims are first party fraud. That's crazy, everybody. And there's bigger numbers out there for certain spaces like digital goods and all that. But like if you really think about 75% is a massive number. So if you're not fighting your fraud chargebacks, you should probably start doing that.
Exactly. I think Merchant Advisory Group put a number over there. The losses are adding up to almost like a $50 billion a year from the first party frauds. And we need to understand that's an industry-wide problem, right? Like it impacts both merchants and the issuers. There is no there isn't a standardized crime framework for this, so that the merchant and issuer needs to be able to share information with defined
Yep.
rules. And the reason is becoming more field and field. Like we talked about the convenience at the beginning, right? Online shopping, digital commerce is great. Like that, I can immediately dispute a transaction on my mobile banking app. It's so easy as well. So, and also the anonymity of the internet provides a perfect shield for the fraudster if they want to do that. That's the issue. And the other piece is, at the end of the day, for the issuing side, is a legitimate spend activity. At the end, is Seckin is doing that. It's not
Yep.
somebody else who is trying to pretend like
All of our fraud prevention tools, all of that is saying go for it. Take it.
Exactly. So at the end, it's like for my bank, I said, oh, like he was a good customer. Like maybe he's right on this if he's chargebacking about that, or he's disputing this transaction. So how do we separate real transaction, genuine or not genuine? It really like messes up the fraud models. And also years of the good intention of zero fraud liability,
Yeah.
marketing and promises. They know how to, like all the fraudsters, they understand that by saying the word fraud, their card issuers is required to provide a refund. So people are abusing that piece as well, unfortunately.
Yep. And that's where, the the pandemic purchases like really changed the consumer behavior around. Chargebacks became very aware because, events were canceled, things that they had bought were not being shipped anymore. So people really figured it out. And then they figured out how easy it was. If you say the F word, you really do automatically, they have to. Well, we'll see what happens with the CFPB thing. But well, they really have to, at the end of the day. So yeah, keep going if you could.
No, exactly. So the thing is that at the end of the day, it creates both direct and indirect costs for both merchants and the issuers at the end of the day. What we are trying to do, how we can eliminate this problem of first party frauds and unnecessary chargebacks by connecting merchants and the issuers and by sharing them with data. And is not the shifting the burden from one party for to another. The objective is how we can use enhanced data on identity, the one that I mentioned before, my IP address, and my email, my card number, and in everything else, all the identity that which is also leveraging by the 3DS standards at the end of the day to confirm the identity of the card holders and enable issuers to confront misuse with the right data points. Think about that. Seckin is saying, "Oh, it wasn't me that transaction," and then all of a sudden we will be providing the data to the issuers, and Seckin made the disputes. And then think about that we can inform to the issuers by saying, "Hey, Seckin is saying it's not him, but when I look at the same
Pretty
address,
sure, Sam.
same IP per transaction, and the same details, he has done twice with this specific merchants the last, like, let's say 3 months or 4 months period. So it's most probably Seckin. So the issuers can give them a call by saying, hey, we got your like chargeback dispute, but are you sure it was you? Because we just checked some numbers. Yeah. And then the thing is, most probably I will say, oh, maybe it was my mistake, whatever it is, or actually there is proof. So actually the liability can shift because we can hold the right party accountable for the fraud claim. And in overall, for the ecosystem, it will reduce the volume of the chargeback, and the issuers and the merchant can spend their time and get their resources to a much better strategic pieces in order to increase customer experience.
So that's music to my ears when you said hold the right party accountable for the fraud claim. That is absolutely music to my ears. I believe that you guys have an actual name for this program, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So
First party trust.
first party trust. So can you you already said what it does. Can you just kind of just give me a quick rundown of what the idea behind first party trust was outside of that? Like, what does it do? How do we take advantage of it as a
Of
merchant?
course.
What do we have to do? Where do we have to call? All those sorts of things.
Of course. So you can just sign up to the program as a merchant, and and they can send us the information data either through the pre-authorization through the 3DS rails or through the dispute stage. And what we do, our network level analytics will uncover insights. We'll go to the historic data and we'll figure it out if that transaction specifically with that merchant, that user, with this IP address, all different identity components has been done before. So it's very easy. Merchants integrate with using either their own 3DS server, their processor, or our own smart API interface. Then they share data with us and we store it on behalf of them. And then we do the matching automatically by leveraging AI into our system based on all the
Okay.
historic transactions. And then at the end, if first party trust validates the compelling evidence, merchant benefits from the liability
Yep.
shifts. And at the end, like, we really want to make sure that like the it is fair to holding the right party accountable. We are looking for 3 elements so that both the issuers and the merchants can feel comfortable.
So basically, me as a merchant, because I am a merchant, in order to opt into this, I just basically have to just say I want to opt into this. There's no real tech lift that I have to do if I'm already, which I am sending a tremendous amount of data to my PSP already. So if I'm using my 3DS rails, I could just send you all the data that you need because that's, I mean, how 3DS works anyway. So
100%.
that's good to know. I think like a lot of people get frightened. Like they hear like these new programs come out like first party trust, and then like, oh great, now I got to do a new integration into something else and I take advantage of it. So that's good to know that I don't have to.
And also, most of them are already connected with us because of the dispute processes anyway, right? That's the piece. And with the initial data we see, we can actually see almost like a 15-20% deflections anyway, as the initial data that we
Wait,
have.
how many deflections?
15 to 20%.
Are just deflected right off the top, so I'm never even going to see it. That's
Exactly.
I like that. I like that. We got to get that number up to 75 to match the everybody.
That's the objective. Exactly. The more merchants the more data we'll be sharing, the better will be the ecosystem anyway.
Perfect. Well, this has been super insightful. So it's good to know like what Mastercard's been up to. It sounds like you guys are actually using technology, which is super cool. And you're actually doing things and making investments in the right place. As we wrap this up, let's talk a little bit about some of the trends that we see when we look forward. So looking forward, like obviously scams are a huge thing right now, but what do you at Mastercard think are going to be the next big trends that are coming down the pipe?
No, thank you for it. I think, look, the future will definitely be based on the data as well. So as we will have more data and more insights to be shared, it's very important to be more attention to prevention and preparedness. As we look ahead with everything going on with technology, with data sharing and everything else, and it will be very important for us, for all our partners as well, to be more prepared. How we can identify the next gen of the fraud and next gen of the cybercrime, next gen of the threat intelligence. And that's the reason we also acquired Recorded Future, by the way, just to be ready in the place. And the prevention and preparedness will be great. That one.
I like that.
AI for sure, because
AI.
AI for
everywhere.
sure. We'll see more and more different use cases of the AI and machine learning, which will be both to prevent fraud, to be more prepared, but at the same time to be like abusing the
To
fraud.
perpetrate the fraud.
Exactly. Perpetrate fraud. I think we'll also see more regulations, both on the cyberspace, because sometimes it feels like a little bit like a wild, wide west. We don't have that much regulation in every places, in or every stage. And so a little bit more scrutiny of cybersecurity controls and laws.
I like that. I think that that's something that people overlook a lot as the world becomes more privacy conscious. It's going to become more difficult to do normal cybersecurity the way that we've always done it. And I definitely think, especially in Western countries, we'll see more rules about what we're allowed to do to determine people, So, because like if someone's trying to buy a pack of vitamins, am I supposed to know that much about them? That I think I was really happy to see that on this list on here.
Look,
So.
we always say this at the end of the day, like if you want to enter to a bar, right? Like all they need to care about is like, are you above 21 years old or
Yeah.
not? They don't need to see my driving
I don't even
license,
know
which
where I
shows
live,
my address, my height, my full name, and everything else. You don't need that much information. So that's how it. And also, I think the future will be like how we will be able to like be prepared of all these deep fakes and all the Gen AI and everything else, because the organization will need to invest more layered protection for their data. And even if fraud in cyber, it will start to having like a layered surface of the threat intelligence and the fraud prevention, so that we will try to combine them maybe in one place if they get access, but at least we can secure the other place.
Yeah, I mean, the deepfake thing is just it's grown so fast, so quick. There was all these companies that did like the picture first, the IDV, and then because deepfakes were existing there, they did the liveness test, and that took like 2 months before that was finally beat. So I just I mean, that's a really interesting space, and everybody go watch The Capture.
Yeah, no, actually, I will watch it now. I
It's
didn't know, but I also
it's
missed the $1 deal of the
yeah.
Black Friday. But
So every year I guess they do it. So keep watching for that because I was paying the $7.99 a month. And then I had to like I was that guy that had to make a whole new account to take advantage of the deal. But I'm on Peacock. They got commercials, so they're getting money in either way. So
look, there are 24 billion credentials of identity credentials on the dark web. So, like, which means if you have one more account, is one more out of this 24 billion. So,
yeah, look at what's the difference between 1 and 24 billion? About 24 billion. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. Seckin Yilgoren, everybody from Mastercard. Yeah, I will put links to some of the Mastercard products down in the description of this video. I want to thank you again for your time. I know it's really hard to get time because you guys are very busy, clearly with all the things that you just listed. So any closing words?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Look, I think we are all in this same fight here. We are trying to fight the fraud and try to do good for the ecosystem and good for the humanity, actually, with the scams and everything else. So leveraging technology is important. Sharing data is very important. And at the end of the day, we are trying to aim consumers to make their life easier, more convenient, making transaction easier, having the peace of mind, and having safe and secure digital interactions in overall.
I love it. I love to see a company actually doing things instead of just taking money. I love to see companies investing and actually doing things. So thank you for being one of those companies. Thanks again for coming on the show. And everybody, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Happy International Fraud Awareness Month, everybody.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate that.